Hi everyone and welcome back to WinaWonders. So today we are going to be doing my July reading wrap-up. I'm very proud of my progress in the month of July. By no means did I finish all of the books on my TBR, but that's perfectly fine. My TBR philosophy is just shoot for the stars, and if you get to read and enjoy yourself and learn a lot of things, then good for you. For the first 3 books, I won't be going too in-depth into them just because I already have a separate video on that, which I will link below. So the first one is The Miracles of the Namiya General Store by Keigo Higashino. And I really enjoyed this. I think of the 3 books I read for Wano's birthday, this is probably my favorite. I think Keigo Higashino is really good at plot, and I definitely want to read something from him again very soon. This book was very complex and had a lot of sub-narratives, which I feel like a less talented or a less skilled author could very easily get sort of swallowed up by, but he wasn't. Like, this book was just so good. For those of you guys who may not be familiar with the premise of this, basically it revolves around the Namiya General Store, which is, yes, a general store, but also dispenses advice to people who write in and sort of share their problems with the owner. And the way it's told is non-linear, so we kind of bounce back and forth between different sub-stories and also different timelines, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. That, and that I really enjoyed it. I definitely want to read more from Keigo Higashino in the future. After this, I read The Seventh Day by Yu Hua. This is so freaking depressing. And of all the books I read this month, honestly, I feel like this one was the saddest, and I would not recommend that you read this if you're not feeling emotionally alright. Basically, this book just follows the story of this 40-something-year-old guy. I think his name is Yang Fei, and he passes away, and we follow him for the first 7 days after his death. And I say it's depressing because his life basically is a very lonely life, and it's a life where he's been abandoned by a lot of people. He had a marriage that didn't work out, and we kind of grapple with that and slowly sort of follow him as he starts to shed his humanity, basically. But yeah, it was very well written though, very well fleshed out, and I would definitely love to read from Yu Hua again. In some places, this book kind of reminded me of Human Acts by Han Kang, although I would say that the style of this is a lot more floaty, if that makes sense. Yeah, and understandably so, just because this deals with death in a different way, whereas Human Acts kind of deals with death with respect to history, if that makes sense. So yeah, very good book as well. I would definitely recommend it, but like I said, just careful when it comes to your mind space and your emotional well-being with this book. After that, I read Macbeth, and I understand now. I'm a convert. I understand why people enjoy this play so much. It's very dark. It has to do with a lot of political struggles and sort of the corruption of the will. And basically we follow Macbeth and his rise to power and the many people that he has to murder to get there. And just how it kind of changes you. Like, power sort of changes the things that you're willing to do to be able to keep / acquire your power. And it was very good, very well written, and the sort of melodious poetic parts of this really appealed to me. Now for the other books that I read this month, which were not on my initial TBR, I read Let Me Tell You What I Mean by Joan Didion. This is her latest release, but the essays in this are not actually very recent. The essays in this range from 1968 to the year 2000, and it's kind of crazy to think that the year 2000 was 21 years ago. Like, literally, where the heck did the time go? I really enjoyed this book. I feel like of Joan's non-fiction, this is probably one of the more accessible sort of collections that she has. She writes about a lot of things, like in her career, and I guess because I am younger and because I don't belong to the same generation that she belonged to, sometimes when she writes about like political events and stuff, I have to do a lot of research about those events as well, just to kind of put it in the right social context and to know what she's talking about. But here, I feel like they deliberately chose some topics also that more people could relate to. And I guess because a lot of these things or these events kind of occur during a time where I was already alive. I was 10 years old in the year 2000. I feel like it's a lot easier to kind of relate to it and to understand what she's talking about. And given that proximity in time as well, I feel like I was also able to be more emotionally affected in a very direct way, if that makes sense. My favorite piece in this is the one about Martha Stewart. If you guys ever pick this up, you will know what I mean, and I would recommend that you do, especially if you were just starting out with Joan Didion and you want to see if I guess her work is something you'd be interested in looking into more, then this is definitely a great place to start. Now, last but not the least, my favorite book that I read this month, this is Deaf Republic by Ilya Kaminsky. Honestly, I have not encountered a poetry collection as perfect as this in a long time, and I understand now why people kept on recommending this to me and why people kept saying like, oh my god, I can't believe you didn't read that book. It's so perfect for the style that you like. It is exactly the style that I like. I kind of have a thing, I guess, for the way that Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, like Eastern European poets write. I just find the imagery so beautiful, and I find that the rhythm of their language is just so rich, and this is no exception. So in the notes of this book, Ilya Kaminsky actually talks about the fictionalization of the world of this book, and it's so freaking interesting. So basically, the poetic situation of all of the poems in this, they're all set in this town called Vasenka, which is kind of a fictionalized Russia / Ukraine / Belarus, and they're currently being occupied or currently being sort of colonized by another country or some soldiers from another country, and the townspeople of Vasenka kind of go into this very silent, very nuanced rebellion when one of the soldiers shoots a deaf boy in the square, like the town square. And their way of rebelling is that they develop this sign language, and so they keep saying throughout the book that the entire town has gone deaf. And it's just so beautiful. And then in particular, we follow a certain number of characters. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil anything about this. Even if it's poetry, like there is like a plot element to this that I feel is essential to the reading experience of this. So I will not be talking about what happens exactly, but I would like to read you guys one of the poems in this that I really loved. While the child sleeps, Sonia undresses, by Ilya Kaminsky. She scrubs me until I spit soapy water. Pig, she smiles. A man should smell better than his country. Such is the silence of a woman who speaks against silence, knowing. Silence moves us to speak. She throws my shoes and glasses in the air. I am of deaf people, and I have no country but a bathtub and an infant and a marriage bed. Soaping together is sacred to us, washing each other's shoulders. You can fuck anyone, but with whom can you sit in water? It's just so freaking good. And yeah, I'm so addicted to the way that this whole book was crafted, its structure, everything. I gave this 5 stars, 5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, if there's anything I could recommend to you from what I read this month, it would definitely be Deaf Republic by Ilya Kaminsky. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you read in the month of July. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if you have some books to recommend. Also, if there are any videos you'd like to see from me, please let me know as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.